Playing 3.5, and the player makes the stereotypical angsty rogue. Does an RP other than brooding intensely, zones out of any puzzle solving that doesn't involve killing, always tries to attack the weakest enemy to secure the kill, and will be the first to rob the bodies when we clear a room and claim as much loot for himself as he could get away with. After helping out a noble with a quest, the party is invited to a banquet with a theater production, dinner and a show, if you will. The rogue decides that he doesn't want to sit with everyone else. He wants to stand in the corner of the room to blend in with the shadows. Halfway during the show, the banquet is attacked by a group of assassins, which begin to fan out, taking out guards first, then the adventurers. Our party groups up, and they fend off the attackers. The rogue backs against the wall, and outnumbered 3-1, goes down. Cue the player loudly sulking. "Why did all the assassins gang up on me? That's not fair." The GM explains that the assassins spread out, and the rogue chose to be alone. "Of course he'd be alone. That's what my character would do," GM sighs and says. "Well, taking out easy targets is what my NPCs would do. So deal." When the fanfiction rogue meets the logical NPC, it's... well, I suppose it's not a pretty sight. For the rogue, at least. I've got a D&D 5th edition DM who plays things extremely fast and loose, to the point where entire systems suddenly appear and disappear as the DM was improvising and not writing anything down. I'm actually under the impression that he's never tried to learn the rules at all, so he uses DM fiat to run the entire game. After the party enjoyed a wonderful evening at the circus, we were returning to the inn to rest before our adventure tomorrow, when suddenly a mysterious figure blows a poison dart at the party member at the rear with the intent to kidnap, not to kill. The problem is, that stupid assassin shot a poison dart at the only Yuan-ti in the party, the only one with natural immunity to poison. I was the first person to point that out, and I got excited. This assassin just blew his own cover and the rest of the party was alerted to it. My mind immediately conjured the scenario where we could interrogate him and figure out why they'd kidnapped my fellow adventurers, or find why he was worth kidnapping at all. This clumsy assassin was a fantastic idea for a plot hook. No, I was stupid. The rest of the story was stupid too. The DM backpedals and fixes everything. No, it's not poison, it's acid. Acid that makes you fall asleep? That didn't sit well with anyone. We explained that poison and acid are two very different things. We explained how relabeling something on the fly to circumvent a character's racial features is bad DMing. We explained to him that if acid makes you fall asleep, it's because the acid is poisonous. We argued for half an hour trying to solve this issue, where I even volunteered to retcon the scene and be the actual target because it was sufficiently dramatic and I was tired of this stupid scene. The ultimate solution to the problem was to retcon the scene entirely. It just never happened. Nobody shot a dart in the first place. This was annoying by itself, but it also made us all aware that the DM had no plan for that encounter. We all went off on our merry way back to the inn. Nobody came after us in our sleep. Nobody came after us on the way out of the inn. And now we knew that the DM was so into improv that nothing that we encountered was planned. It was all going to be a cluster hell of whatever the DM thought of that very second. And the DM was going to use his own unique take on the rules to keep us on our feet. Here's a little bonus story. We ended up fighting a big boss monster, a Gnoll King who wielded a jagged lance and terrorized the countryside. My character, having martial weapons training, announces that if we stay close, he'll have a hard time hitting us. I was referring to the lance's special property of making attacks within 5 feet at disadvantage, something that my character would definitely be aware of. The DM chimes in with, no, the lance is specifically shaped so that doesn't happen. Playing fast and loose can be really fun, but it has to be fun for the party as well. If your fast and loose playstyle results in you ignoring racial traits, screwing over party members, etc., that's just hostile DMing. It's not fun at all. And besides, if you're going to play fast and loose, you better know the rules of the game so that you can improv things on the fly. If you don't know the rules of the game, then prep. It's as simple as that. The scene: 5th edition homebrew, pre-COVID, in a guy friend's basement. The players: DM, wizard, rogue, cleric, and barbarian. I'm the barbarian. Notably, I'm the only not guy in the party. Girl playing girl. She was a cool character, by the way. Rest in peace. So, I usually DM. I started as a DM, and love facilitating my friends' fun and building an epic story together. However, the allure of being on the other side of the table, it's strong, and I am not immune, so when my guy friends decided they want to play and offered me a slot as a player, I jumped in on it. We rolled up a fun party, and our characters all wake up on a ship after having been kidnapped. We fight our way to freedom and spend the next sessions making allies and hunting for our kidnappers. Good, punchy arc, solid balance of combat and roleplay, dynamic inter-party conflict, and bonding, all the makings of a great Saturday night. Then God started talking to my barbarian. She starts having these visions. DM is a compelling storyteller. The individual instances of my barbarian's theophanies are gorgeous. Lots of silky, mysterious, "you'd be the perfect champion if only you devoted yourself to me" speeches. Barbarian isn't religious and was frightened. Then the visions became constant. She wasn't getting a long rest because the visions apparently didn't constitute mortal sleep. She kept picking up exhaustion points because the gods kept pressing advances. She would sometimes have these visions in the middle of combat, during which time she was effectively stunned, which is not a great thing for the singular tank to be. My party would get absolutely clobbered. This was, again, sometimes cool, even as it started impeding the larger story progress. Except the guy playing the cleric was a little hurt that his character had not made contact with a god at all. He tried too, he prayed all the time. We had a whole side plot about finding a shrine in a dense haunted woodland so that he could commune, and the DM gave him like a suggestion through the wind blowing through the leaves. Now get this, on the way back from the woodland shrine disappointment dead end, Barbarian gets a vision. She's promised divine power and a place in this god's special realm after death if only she devotes herself to him completely. Like on the trip we took so that the cleric could have his moment. Barbarian is fully spooked at this point and wants nothing to do with this god. Out of character, I am trying so hard to assume that this is all part of some big cool story and that my sinking suspicion isn't true. The god's romantic gestures toward the barbarian were thinly veiled romantic gestures from the DM to me. Plus, I'm feeling for my cleric buddy. He clearly felt left out and wanted something comparable for his character. If only. Fast forward a few sessions, my character and the DMPC shopkeep, who've been a prominent side character since session 0, enter a relationship. Sword lesbian, ex-femme, enchanter lesbian. What's not to love? It was a very sweet romance, and the guys in the party had a good time teasing the barbarian about it. Until the barbarian started getting grilled by way overpowered magical items. Like earrings that make you resistant to damage from non-magical items, and complete immunity to fire damage overpowered. Barbarian was quickly becoming super OP, for no reason. It was at this point that wizard and rogue were visibly struggling to vibe, so my barbarian gives them some of the shopkeeper's gifts. The shopkeeper got upset, so my barbarian said something to the effect of, "These men are equally my family, and your generosity is keeping them alive, which is keeping me alive." It's at this point that the shopkeeper reveals herself to be the priestess of that god guy, and that she had only courted barbarian because the barbarian was the god's chosen champion, and it was her job to groom her for her ascent as divine bride? Excuse me? After that session, I grabbed coffee with DM one-on-one. We were friends outside this, and I wanted to make sure that everything was transparent. I was feeling weird about the in-game attention. Cool campaign, just want to step out of the spotlight. DM says, "Once you multi-class as Paladin, you can play support." Not if. Once. I've got no desire to multi-class as a Paladin. I communicate as much and stress to him that I'm looking forward to the next game. I'm having fun. It's still fun. Just want to play as the Hulk Smash Warrior I set out to play, that's all. Next session, we finally catch up with the BBEG, who financed our kidnapping in the very beginning of the campaign. Some rancid lord type dude. Our wizard is really bringing this one home for us. It's a hard battle, but it's won. Or so we think, until out of the shadow steps my shopkeeper girlfriend. Suddenly, the spilled blood from the BBEG's body ignites, invisible sigils on the floor. Symbols burn in the air. The shopkeep raises her hands. The room is bathed in light, and suddenly, my barbarian's girlfriend is speaking in a different voice. That gods. The BBEG's death was a setup? The necessary sacrifice to bring this god to the prime material plane. Now the wedding would commence. Session gets called. I'm asked to stick around after everyone leaves. I do. DM asks me what I thought. I said that I thought Wizard kicked ass and that it was an epic fight, even if the shopkeep girlfriend betrayal is kind of brutal. DM specifies, "Are you excited to be my divine bride?" DM is a friend of mine. I want to stress that I've known this guy for years, so when I laughed it off, ignored the "my" and said my barbarian would rather die than tie herself to a god, her loyalties to her brothers, the party, that's it. Next session starts with the god in the shopkeeper's body asking Barbarian to be his bride. Barbarian's like, no. Then the god rips through the Barbarian's girlfriend's body, grows tall enough to fill the room, and grapples Barbarian. He simultaneously casts a spell that transforms her armor into a long white gown. A thing known by every guy in the room. I don't wear dresses. I don't play femme characters. I love dresses, but not on me. It's a whole tangled thing. Anyway, I must have visibly recoiled because Wizard, Rogue, and Cleric immediately catch on that I'm not pleased. Rogue hurls a dagger at the god's eye. We roll initiative. We're level 10, with gnarly injuries from our last fight. The god is a god. We do our best. Wizard falls, then Cleric, then Rogue. It's just me, barely up. And the god. The god says, "Be mine and I'll revive them. Their life, their death is in your hands. Submit to me, cower and beg, be my beloved, or send them to hell where they belong." My barbarian says, "I'll join my brothers in the fire." The god snaps my barbarian's neck. What the... Flirting! An argument breaks out immediately. DM wants to know why I'd let a TPK happen, like it was my doing. Am I at fault here? Rogue wants to know if us winning was mathematically possible. Wizard, usually like lol vibes, has fully checked out and is on his phone. Cleric is mad at me for having turned the god down if it meant we couldn't play anymore. I'd just walk out. I was frustrated and more than a little uneasy about things, like, I left my dice, I left so fast. DM texts me that night and apologizes for the note things ended on. He and the guys decided to start a new campaign and I was welcome to join. Also, would I be interested in going out with him? Like, heartbreaking. I turned him down, and that was the end of that. I could be reading things wrong, but I felt it was really like the whole campaign was rewritten halfway through so the DM could hit on me. And that ending left an awful taste in my mouth. I had so much fun playing and everything else felt soured in respect. I didn't join that next campaign. DM had been friends with me for so long and I didn't want to hurt his feelings, so I didn't tell our guy friends that he'd made a pass on me. I drifted away from the group. It's been a few years since then. And I've kept DMing, but I've had a nervousness about playing again. It's tough to build that trust back. Who knows, maybe one day. TLDR. Guy DM changes a campaign to hit on me, the world's biggest homosexual, and kills the party when I turn him down. Hello, fellas out there. Do not use D&D to flirt. It's a bad idea. It's not going to work. I don't know why anyone thinks it works. It doesn't. I can't imagine a scenario where this doesn't end horribly and awkwardly. No, it's not the OP's fault. It's obviously the DM's fault that this whole thing went down. I do have to say I adore the rogue's response to the whole thing. Drama, 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 whatever. Let me see the stat block. That's great. This kind of thing can really break up a group because even if the DM said, "Oh, I won't ever do that again," just the awkwardness of it, the creepy vibe left behind, it doesn't go away. The OP did the right thing. You can't just salvage that sort of thing. You need to leave, alright? Walk away. It's the best thing you can do, the healthiest thing you can do, and that's what she did. So, good on her. Hope she finds a DM that doesn't completely suck. I was at a convention with some friends, and we signed up to play Delta Green, which is sort of a modern Call of Cthulhu government operative game. This sounded great to us, and we were looking forward to doing some X-Files type stuff. Spoilers ahead for the module, music from the darkened room, which I've seen good things about, so maybe with a better GM, this wouldn't have been a total nightmare. Though frankly, I'm a little skeptical. The game starts, and the basic premise is that there is a presumably haunted house where an absolute mountain of people have killed themselves or died in freak accidents. The GM lists off this enormous list of names and dates that my friend faithfully transcribes, and then the GM remembers he has a handout of it. Oh, whoops. Nobody wants to just barge into a place with this kind of body count, and in-game, we're supposed to be investigators. So fine, we investigate. We go down the list and investigate all the people. All of them. And their neighbors. This process required no work whatsoever on our part. There's no dice rolls or anything. We just get an infodump after infodump after infodump. It's so much stuff, and so totally dry. More than 3 real-world hours are spent digging through county records, interviewing people, and otherwise gathering information without ever having to actually roll dice or solve puzzles or do anything remotely interesting. In the end, we decided that the obvious solution was to get some C4 and just blow up the house, because we had established that it was an evil supernatural house that kills people. But despite all that research, we hadn't identified any way to fix it. We saw no need to actually go inside the house that kills everyone that enters it. Of course, our C4 approach was not one that the GM would allow, of course, so we finally went inside, even though we didn't have any indication of what was going on in the Doom house that would help in any way. Some of the players wanted guns, and I flat out told them that I wouldn't go in there with them if they brought firearms. This is a house that makes people crazy and kills them. It's not like we can shoot it, but we can sure as hell shoot each other. So we go in. It takes forever. If I remember right, we had to search the whole place, and then, in the end, nothing mattered, and we couldn't fix it, and the whole thing was a waste of time. We blew up the house, and the epilogue was that we all got mind-controlled and forced to rebuild it. The end. After it was over, we talked to the GM, and there turned out to be a diary. Oh god, more info dumps. Hidden somewhere we had zero reason to look for. I guess we were supposed to have played Antiques Roadshow and tracked down every piece of furniture that had ever been in the house or something, but nothing we heard gave us any indication we should be tracking down furniture at the local Goodwill or whatever. Had we found the journal, we would have been able to stop the evil by summoning an eldritch monster and sacrificing an innocent person in an evil ritual. So, our options were: spend hours doing research that doesn't really matter, then murder someone in a dark ritual and hope you do it right, or spend hours doing research that doesn't really matter and lose the game. What thrilling options those are. It seems that the GM was not really familiar with how to run the adventure, or they just like running the most boring parts of point-and-click games ever. I mean, good for them. If that's what you're into, great, but don't expect the rest of your party to enjoy the same thing, because that sounded boring as hell. If you guys enjoyed this episode of RPG Horror Stories and you want to let me know, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of my content, then please do subscribe to Crispy's Tavern. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down to the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment info dump to let me know you made it to the end of the video. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.